When should we expect the standard range Model Y? There's a lot of speculation on whether or not it will be similar to the launch of the standard range Model 3, or will this one be handled a little bit differently, because the Model Y launch appears to be smooth sailing, stuff is coming out earlier, way ahead of schedule, which is very rare for Tesla, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff to discuss here, because while the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y is kind of up for interpretation on whether or not it's actually going to deliver, pretty much anyone who reserved a Model Y has now seen this prepare for delivery page, even though they have yet to detail if they are bringing the long-range rear-wheel drive to production. But they have stated that standard range is coming to production, and on the website it still says in 2021, but a lot of people have their doubts about that. Given when the Model Y was originally unveiled, they say it wouldn't start delivering until fall of 2020. Obviously, it's coming out mid-March, early March in fact, so it is easily a good 6 months ahead of schedule from the original promised launch date, and the standard range Model Y was promised for a spring launch of 2021. Knowing that the all-wheel drive versions and performance are ahead by 6 months, shouldn't standard range be ahead too? That's the logical way of thinking about it, but people have their own theories. So I ran a YouTube poll which saw 40% of the over 1,000 votes suggesting that the standard range Model Y will be coming in the fall of 2020, with the next closest option being the summer. So some people are thinking that Model Y production is ramping so fast that they'll be ready to start releasing the standard range version by just 3 to 4 months from now, which would be cool, would be interesting, but I'm sure the specs are going to be very different from what they were originally promised. Just like the all-wheel drive, we thought it was going to be $51,000 and it was going to take you 280 miles. Now, with the updated specs, it is $53,000, but it takes you 315 miles. So that's kind of the running theme with Tesla's unveilings compared to their deliveries. You know, they're always a little bit more expensive, but the range is also going to be a lot better. So if we apply that same logic of the price point increasing by $2,000 and the range also increasing as well, that means that once the standard range Model Y is available, I think it's very likely it could have close to 250 miles of EPA estimated range, but likely start at around $41,000. So that's $2,000 more than originally promised, but with around 20 miles better range than originally promised. Given it's a smaller battery pack, I'm not adding 35 miles on top of what Tesla said it would get, because I'm sure with efficiency upgrades, it probably takes you a bit further when you have a larger battery pack, since we know standard range is going to have a smaller battery pack, but hey, it also will be rear-wheel drive, which should help with efficiency a little bit as well, even if it comes at a cost of traction control. And I think this could end up being a popular model for a lot of people. I think the Model Y is going to be popular in general, but the cheaper option will definitely be somewhat appealing to people, especially if they can get the range up to something close to 250 miles. But the main reason there was a lot of holdup with the launch of the standard range Model 3, which the originally promised $35,000 model didn't even start production until about this time last year. So that was classic Elon time of them saying, hey, the Model 3 is coming and it's going to start at $35,000. Well, when they first started delivering them, yeah, they were nowhere near $35,000, and it wasn't until early 2019 that they were like, okay, here's that $35,000 one we talked about, but it was a very, very low margin vehicle. In fact, Tesla probably was losing money on some of those because they were hoping people would pay for autopilot and enhanced autopilot, but sadly not enough people were opting for that, so they had to restructure the website to what it is today, where you have standard range plus, which takes you a little bit further than the original promised range and definitely costs about $5,000 more, but it also includes autopilot, so that's just default with all Teslas now, and you can technically still buy that $35,000 Model 3, but it's a specialized order. You have to call them after ordering standard range plus, and then they deduct the total cost for you. It's kind of a workaround, and I'm wondering if this time around with the Model Y they're going to end up doing that. Does the Model Y deserve a standard range plus option, and then you have to call in to actually get standard range? My guess is no. I think for the sake of simplicity, and since they've launched a mass market car before, with the Model Y, they're going to be able to keep it simple, and since the manufacturing process for the Model Y has been very much changed from what it was from the Model 3, Tesla has experience now, they've gone through production hell, plus they already have 75% of the parts at the factory as is. I think there won't be a standard range plus for the Model Y. Some of you may disagree, you may have your own theory, but I think the margins on the Model Y are going to be strong enough that they'll be able to not have some off-menu, you know, special call-in order for the Model Y. It's just going to be a little bit more expensive. I mean, I think it's fair given when they originally showed off the Model Y, it was standard with Aero wheels. Now they're giving all the Model Ys 19-inch Gemini wheels, which I'm going to assume that's going to carry over to the standard range as well. But that's certainly larger size wheels that the Model 3 does not get by default. So I think it makes sense that the Model Y can start quite a bit higher given the standard range plus Model 3 starts around 40,000. Who knows, maybe the regular standard range Model Y will start around 41 to 42K. And of course, that one will come with partial premium audio and sound, so they may turn off a few things via software or leave out little things like subwoofers, similar to what they do with the standard range Model 3s now. But I personally think the poll is right. I think most people were accurate in assuming that the standard range Model Y is going to be ready ahead of schedule, just like the regular Model Ys are, because it's a smaller size battery pack, which means that it's less bottleneck on their supplies, and it's still a relatively higher priced vehicle. And since the manufacturing is a lot cheaper this time around than it was for initially launching the Model 3, that means that they don't have to be so wishy-washy with the price, and it'll be good incentive and probably decent sized margins even on that standard range Model Y, so that they can start delivering that thing, and it'll be good for business, you know, by probably fall or maybe just by the end of 2020, which is interesting, you know, because they're not taking reservations for the standard range Model Y. They've not opened that up at all. In fact, it's the only Model Y you can't reserve. You can reserve performance, you can reserve dual motor, all-wheel drive. They got rid of rear-wheel drive long range, which we still don't know for sure if they're building it or not, but that regular standard range one, that's the only thing they're not taking orders for yet. So who knows, maybe they just want to milk the high margins of the Model Y first and maybe actually stay on track with launching the standard range in 2021. But what do you guys think? It could go either way. Feel free to let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.